Overview and Scrutiny Committee. It is Thursday, the 22nd of January 2026, and it's 10:30 a.m. in the morning. Obviously, today we do have a full agenda, and we're going to start with item 1, which is apologies. Helen, do we have any apologies?
Yes, Chair, thank you. We do. We have apologies from Councillors Sonny Edwards and Helen Edwards.
Thank you. And do we have any declarations of interest? No? Okay, we'll move on to item 3, is the minutes of the meetings held on the 27th of November and also the 4th of December 2025. Can we... Okay.
So if I may, on the Children's Family Strategy Improvement Plan, I did bring up the item of reunification, and we did say that it could come back to discuss it at a later date as well.
Is that the 4th of December minutes?
I haven't written down which ones it is, but I'm scrolling as fast as I can.
It is the 4th of December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just that under the resolved, we said that we would look at what issues there are with reunification.
Okay, so to clarify, it's the 4th of December minutes, and it's an amendment to the recommendations that we bring something back on reunification. So to add that to the work programme, is everybody happy with that, if I make that amendment? Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to item 4, which is the annual report of SACRE. So we're going to hand it over to the Reverend Metcalfe to actually tell her and obviously give her this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone, colleagues. This is an opportunity for you to receive the report and to ask questions about anything in the report, and also to inform yourself of the work of SACRE, which is a statutory committee of your county council. I've been the chair of the SACRE for a number of years now, and on its membership since it began soon after the 1988 Education Act. I commend to you my survey of those years in my introduction to the report, if you've had a chance to read through it, looking back over the last 40 or so years. If I may, the purpose of this meeting is to present the report, but I want to share with you, first of all, an introduction to the SACRE itself. I've got some slides which I'll go through with you very quickly before we get to the report itself, if we may. How did SACREs begin? Well, they began with the 1944 Education Act technically, but they were voluntary. The 1988 Act made them compulsory, and every local authority had to set one up. And I was involved in setting the Staffordshire one up as the then Director of Education for the Diocese of Lichfield. The SACRE is a very unusual body in all sorts of ways. But basically, it's got 4 committees, but I'm sure Helen will be able to distribute these slides later on. I'm going to skip through them very quickly. The role of a SACRE is basically to ensure that a pupil's entitlement to RE and collective worship within their area is fully met and is of the highest possible quality. And in order to do that, it brings together a number of stakeholders involved in the work of schools and of RE more particularly. So the composition of SACREs, there are 4 groups or committees within each SACRE. First of all, Christian denominations and other religions and denominations, of such religions as, in the opinion of the authority, will appropriately reflect the principal religions in traditions in the area. That's every possible religious and nowadays non-religious group within the area, except for the Church of England, which has a privileged place. Sorry about that, Steve. And the Church of England has a separate committee in England. It doesn't have in Wales, which is why we got that extra thing there. And then that's the second committee, Committee B. The third committee is associations representing teachers as, in the opinion of the authority, ought to be represented in the, having regard to the circumstances of the area. So that's Committee C, that's teacher representatives. And the Committee D is the authority, namely people appointed by the local authority, usually county councillors in this case. So we've got 4 committees, the other denominations and faith groups, Church of England, teacher representatives, and the local authority councillors and others. And the way the committees work is that when you come to a vote, each committee has a single block vote, so that you can only have a 4-0, a 3-1, or a 2-2 kind of result when you have a vote. As chair, I've tried to avoid any situation in which you get a 2-2 situation, because the chairman has the deciding vote in that situation, but you avoid that because it means that there's division, and you don't want division, you want consensus, and you want to move forward together collaboratively. Incidentally, the chair of the SACRE is in the gift of the local authority. The chair has to be elected annually, well, appointed annually. If the local authority does not appoint, then the SACRE elects its own chair from within its membership. And that's how I come to be chair. When the SACRE was first started in 1988, the chair was automatically a county councillor. But then around about 2002, I think it changed and it became elected. So that's how it works. Membership of the groups is the responsibility of the local authority and not the actual sponsoring body or the SACRE itself. So everything has to be negotiated through the county council or the local authority in that way. I'm going to skim very quickly forward. We can also appoint members who are referred to as co-opted. We can have people attending the meetings who can speak but who don't actually form a constituent member of one of the 4 committees or groups. Incidentally, the Staffordshire Group A does include a place for a humanist, member of Humanists United, or Humanist UK, I think the name is now. And this was something that had to be negotiated with the local authority, and it's still, to some extent, contentious because do humanists count as a religion or a faith organisation or not? A number of authorities, a number of SACREs elsewhere in the country do have humanists in Committee A, so we're not alone. But others of them find a way of bringing humanists in through the local authority appointment, Committee D, or something like that. But there is an issue here. The understanding of worldviews and faiths has become much more nuanced, if I can put it like that, in the recent years. And we've also had, there's a Roman Catholic place. We've actually had Roman Catholic members on Staffordshire SACRE, which we've very much appreciated. And that's not always the case because the Catholic churches and schools tend to operate as a much more self-contained group. So it's very good when they interact with the wider Christian community. And well, could I just also say that one of the problems when you have a lot of people coming from different standpoints and faith stances and so on coming together is the possibility of people using it as a platform for their own agendas. And in order to do that, we have a code of conduct which every member of SACRE is supposed to subscribe to, which requires people to be respectful and to work collaboratively rather than to push one's own agenda. So I think that's been important. In some SACREs that matters more than others, can I put it like that? I'm not going to leave that. There are challenges to the system, and that's about the formalities of it. That's about Group A, who belongs to Group A and who should belong to Group A. That's Group B, who belongs to the Church of England group. Group C, teacher representatives. Group D, appointees from the local authority, usually councillors. I'm going to skim through this because you want to get to the report. Other point to consider, I'll leave you to look through these later on, and that's the end of the slideshow. But any questions, please come to me. Oh, right.
Councillor Kelly.
Thank you. I'd just like to say as well, Reverend Metcalfe, I know this is your last year and I want to commend you on all the good work you've done over the years as well, so thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So now, it feels horrible scrutinising a reverend. So the first thing that I wanted to say is I saw that there was a vacancy for someone from the Jewish faith. I just wondered, are you actively trying to fill that role? Because I know there is a problem lately, well, a perceived issue with anti-Semitism at the moment. I don't know. So I just wondered if that was happening. And then I've got another question as well.
That's a very helpful question because it is one that many people might have. The Jewish presence within Staffordshire is very limited. There is a historic community within the Potteries, or I think actually it may be located in Newcastle, it's in that area, which is an ageing community and which struggles to meet the needs of schools and others to be engaging with the Jewish tradition of faith and community. We have had active Jewish participants in the SACRE in the past, but the community cannot find such people at present. I can say that there is somebody who might have been willing to, but they did take part in Stafford and District Friends of Faith as a representative of the Jewish community, and they live within the county. But they are very aware of currents within society which are hostile to the Jewish community, anti-Semitic, and they have been very reluctant to put their heads above the parapet in public. And I think recent events have only reinforced that. So that is a very difficult situation, and we respect the fact that this person, who is very, very knowledgeable and would have contributed considerably, is not present. Could I just mention, out of into context, that on Sunday there is the annual Holocaust Memorial Service at St Mary's Church in Stafford, which I hope to be attending with a number of other people, but that struggles to have Jewish representatives at it as well. So there is an issue about Staffordshire as a whole. There used to be historic Jewish communities in Birmingham, but these have dwindled. Within the area that, the broader area that we might be able to latch into, to tap into, there are large Jewish communities in Manchester, North Manchester and areas. And that's the best one can find in terms of access to a vibrant Jewish community locally.
Thank you. And then I have a second question. I wrote this down because I usually get my words muddled. So, RE, why do you believe this is? Because according to the YouGov website, there is increased attendance and belief between 18 and 24-year-olds. There's spiritual openness between Gen Z, which shows above average to spirituality, and they engage in practices like prayer more frequently. The report mentions other things as well, but in essence, young people are actively exploring faith, finding traditional apathy replaced by a search of answers, community and purpose. But now they are often utilising digital tools to connect with spiritual paths, rather than being educated, which I believe could lead to extremism if they are finding this information on the internet rather than in schools.
Okay, complicated answer. I'll be as quick as I can. First of all, every pupil is entitled to take part in RE, good quality RE, until the end of Key Stage 13, at which point they begin doing a GCSE subject in earnest, and they have to choose subjects. At that point, every pupil is still entitled to RE provision of some sort, and every school should be compliant in that respect. But what happens is that a number of pupils opt to take exam syllabus RE, and it is possible within that exam syllabus RE for whole cohorts to be given the opportunity to do what's called a short course RE at GCSE, and a number of schools do that. But doing exam courses at RE is an option, and subsequent recent developments within the exam structures, such as the baccalaureate and downplaying of what some people might call fringe subjects, means that there's been a squeeze on some pupils taking actually exam course RE other than this short course GCSE, which whole course cohorts do. Does that answer your question to some extent?
So they're doing, rather than the full GCSE, they're doing a smaller version of it instead, which
That's
is why
right.
we see the reduction.
But they do get a qualification in RE if they do it as a whole cohort. And we get some schools doing very good results, getting quite high averages for such cohort entries.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Councillor Wallace, I believe you had a question?
Yes, sorry, I forgot Councillor Doherty went first. I'll let her go first. You sure? Okay, no, that's fine. Yeah, thank you for the report and so forth. It's quite well detailed indeed. And I noticed there were some schools in that report that are falling behind. And I was curious, during this year and next year and so forth, what are the main focuses that SACRE will be doing to boost them? Schools that are falling behind up to the national average and so forth?
Thank you. To put this in general context, Staffordshire schools, secondary schools, show a consistent pattern of dropping within the rankings between comparable authorities and nationally as pupils get older through the education system. They perform well at infant and reception stage, and they gradually drop lower in the rankings as they go through until they come out of school leaving age at the end. And by the time they leave, the performance is down to the bottom quartile, I think. And so RE is not different in that respect. So there's a huge challenge for the authority, for schools, to try to raise the aspirations. This is something that's been mentioned more generally as well, and RE comes within that. Somehow we're not able to motivate and support pupils to achieve the improvements that we would like to see.
Thank you. I've just got two more questions as well. Just to follow up on that one, I know it's GCSE RE that's learnt in schools, and remember from my time in school, this is about 10 years ago now. It feels like a long time ago to say that, but do they still offer BTEC RE across mainstream schools, or is that selective?
BTEC will be offered in colleges which SACRE does not cover. It doesn't touch BTEC at all.
Yeah, it's odd, because I remember when I was at school, I went to the Friary School about a good 10 years ago now, and yeah, I remember BTEC was offered back then, and yeah, as I say, the curriculums may change in that regard. But yeah, thank you for that. And the only last question I've got is, I know this is a long shot or, you know, a silly question to some extent, but when local government reorganisation takes place, how would it affect SACRE? Because I know it's something to do with the local authorities. Will it still be around, or would it just merge into, or did it just follow suit?
You did ask, it was Charlotte who asked, what were the things that we were going to be looking at over the next year or two. Well, we're all waiting to see what the government white paper on education is going to bring forward. And that will certainly include some reflection on the support for RE and the national legislation on RE, and that will involve SACREs also. If the procedures, if the current setup goes ahead without any modification, and new local authorities are created, they will each have to create their own SACREs. We had this when the number of SACREs was increased significantly in the 1990s, I think it was. No, sorry. Yeah, it might have been the 1990s. And then subsequently there have been further local authorities. They've each had to set up their own authority, as Stoke did, the Potteries did, Stoke, when it became separate from Staffordshire.
Thank you.
Councillor Doherty.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to ask, I've been reading the Staffordshire agreed syllabus, and it states in there that pupils should learn about at least 4 religions taught within the local context. So given that we live in an increasingly multicultural community, well, we live in increased communities, can't speak today, where integration and understanding are essential, could you clarify what local context means in practice?
Local is an imprecise word. The SACRE takes the view that obviously all pupils should have an opportunity to engage with the Christian traditions which underlie the history and culture of our own country and society, and that is so. It is natural for the Christian tradition to be associated also with the Jewish tradition, because they obviously have a common origin, and the Old Testament of the Christian faith Bible is the scriptures of the Jewish faith, although they organise them in a slightly different way. Alongside that, the SACRE took the view that it was important for all students to have an opportunity to engage with Islam, both because there is an Islamic presence within many parts of Staffordshire, and also because it is now probably the dominant faith other than Christian within our own country, within Western Europe, and indeed in world politics. And it is felt important that students engage with Islam in a meaningful way. And in fact, the initiative that we have exploring faiths, that we go out, a roadshow that goes out to schools, provides pupils with an opportunity to engage with Christianity and to engage with Islam side by side. And that's been very popular and very successful with schools. The fourth one, it to some extent is up to a local school to decide, and there's far too much that pupils could discover, that they could be overloaded. But there is guidance that there should be some kind of contact with the non-monotheistic faiths that I've just mentioned. In other words, what are called sometimes the dharmic religions that originated in Southeast Asia: Hinduism, Buddhism, and Sikhism. So schools are encouraged to do that, because obviously there's a major group of traditions of that character. But how schools divide that and work on it is another matter. And there's also pressure now to include some awareness of world faiths of a non-religious character. So the schools and SACRE itself are really under pressure to try to give guidance while not overloading pupils and teachers.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Good morning. Are we going into the body of the report after this, or are we just doing from the slides?
This is questions on the slides, Victoria.
Okay, well, I'll ask some of my questions after the main body of the report in that case.
I was told by Helen that we had 20 minutes for this item.
Okay, in that case, well, I'll be very quick then.
Can I just say very briefly that I'd like to draw people's attention to a statement on page 7 of the report, if we'd like to move on to the report, which is at the end of the first section, really. The RE curriculum drawn up by a SACRE or used by an academy or free school shall reflect the fact that the religious traditions in Great Britain are in the main Christian, while taking account of the teaching and practices of the other principal religions represented in Great Britain. That's the Education Act 1996, and it repeats the words of the Education Act of 1988, which came in under Margaret Thatcher. So it's got her imprimatur in a way. And at the time, it was a very, very ingenious and carefully worked out compromise between those who wanted it to be totally multicultural, multi-faith, and those who wanted it to be strictly Christian. And there was real tension in the country and in the teaching profession about this. So that's what guided our work and which continues to guide the development of RE in schools. Can I just also say that every maintained school, that's county-maintained school, has to follow this agreed syllabus. Academies and free schools may follow it, but they are free to choose, provided what they choose complies with the law. We do encourage academies to continue using the Staffordshire syllabus for continuity and for coherence. I think many do. And it's a syllabus that stands up, actually. It's part of the current wave of acceptable and progressive syllabuses for schools, and it's going to be able to stand in that way for some years, I think, ahead.
Apologies, I think that we're making you rush, so I'm going to postpone my questions and ask you to, through the chairman. I don't know if they want you to continue.
Yeah, I'm happy for you to continue.
I'd like, Chairman, to present my report to the Scrutiny Committee and invite them to receive it and to ask questions.
Can I actually just wait, because Councillor Egley did actually have a question, so can Councillor Egley please ask a question first?
Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Martin, for your report, and good morning, everyone. Yes, my question really is regarding we have a group of people within Stafford that's got probably about 4 or 5 different meeting places. I think they refer to themselves as the Brethren. Do you have any dealings with those? I mean, I don't know what their religion or what they teach their children or anything, but I wondered if you had any involvement with them.
The Brethren, or sometimes called Plymouth Brethren, are...
It's not Plymouth Brethren, no.
Well, the Brethren, if they're of a similar character, will be an enclosed Christian community that will be very reluctant to engage with the outside world in an official or formal capacity. They would be regarded by some as a closed sect.
And last question is Councillor Wilson.
I'm back again. Thank you for the report. Found it thoroughly interesting. I've never come across it before, so I'm really pleased to have you here today, in spite of the fact that you've been going since 1988. And congratulations on you know, an illustrious chairmanship, and let's see who comes next and how it works through LGR. First question was a very simple one. As chairman, is one remunerated for that role? So if you're an elected councillor, you know, and you're the chairman, do you get paid to do that? My next question kind of goes back to the question of Councillor Kelly, which was in relation to the Jewish faith. And I feel disappointed and quite sad that we have a cohort in this county that isn't represented because of fear of hostility. That really concerns me, that in Staffordshire, which is considered quite a liberal county, that they would feel like that. And I wonder if there is anything that this council or that SACRE can do to reassure those people and to bring them back into the fold, because that really marginalises an entire community of people. And I understand why that's the case, but I want to know what can be done to alleviate that. I also feel that religion generally should be emphasised more. I feel that it's the foundation, the bedrock of you know, how children in this country and in the world grow up. And I'm saddened that there's less of it, and that we're kind of funneling, trying to squeeze it in almost. I find that quite concerning. I wonder if there's anything we can do about it. my concern also is with home-educated children as well. You know, what, if any, scrutiny is there on the parents to try and bring religion into elective home education? And my final question is in relation to our libraries, of which we have 43, and also family hubs, of which we have 8, and wonder if there's a way to, for you want of a better word, infiltrate SACRE into those areas so that there's a more broad view of SACRE and of religion in this county altogether. And I'm sorry, there's lots of questions there. I apologise.
Chair, very quickly, SACRE is entirely voluntary. No pay is involved at all. The SACRE is given a significant but modest amount of money to carry out its work, most of which goes to commissioning our RE advisor, Mary Gale, to carry on the work of SACRE and to support schools, which she does in a very robust and invigorating way. We're very lucky that we have her services. Secondly, the problem of what Jewish people are feeling is nationwide. There is a great apprehension within the Jewish community as a whole about what is going on in our country. And you will find people having the, well, we could have a very long discussion here, Chair, but some people have weaponized support for Palestine and the Gaza situation into anti-Semitism. And this is something that is enabling a huge amount of anger and pain to be focused on the Jewish community because of that situation. And it's, Jewish community in this country are suffering as a result of this, and they're having to, as I say, keep their heads below the parapet. And I don't know how we're going to deal with this. It's a real problem. Could you remind me very quickly what your other questions were?
So, apologies, yes, it was more to do with the...
educated at home children.
Education at home and trying to bring that into libraries and family hubs and schools.
Children being educated at home are required to receive an education which complies with the law, which includes entitlement to a full interaction with religious education. And this should be part of the support and oversight, if you like, that they're given within the education at home officers within the authority. And as you know, there's a current working party going on, and this will be part of their remit. You can bring it up then, if you wish. Probably better if you bring it up than if I do. I like the idea of libraries and so on here, and I think perhaps that ought to go to SACRE itself to see what they feel about this. I think that's a creative idea. Could I just say that my successor as chair is going to be a Muslim lady whom some of you may know, Hifsa Iqbal, who is a Deputy Lord Lieutenant for the county and an OBE. And we're very fortunate that she lives in the Stafford area. She's been a member of SACRE before, she's been vice chair to me before, and I've been vice chair to her as chairing the Stafford District Friends of Faith and so on. So she's much younger than me. So, and hopefully, and she also is involved in presenting the roadshow on the Muslim side to schools in our county. So I think she's going to be very, very suitable. Okay.
Just saying is that he was mentioned in the report. He was gone around to the schools.
Sorry, this report will be going out, or should have gone out, to every school in the county, as well as to the county council itself. It goes to the Department for Education, it goes to the National Association of SACREs, so that the National Association can carry out a sort of survey of what's going on in all the SACREs across the country, to note trends and challenges and issues. Okay.
I do have one question I would like to ask, and this is actually to do with SEND children. It states in the report that we adapt the AR approach to the child's need. Could you explain that a bit more, please?
I'm not an expert in SEND education, but as I understand it, the RE curriculum should be offered to all pupils in the way that they can most readily engage with it and develop within it. Therefore, teachers with proper expertise will be seeking to deliver as much of the RE syllabus as they feel each pupil is able to receive it and to respond to it in a meaningful way. That will vary from pupil to pupil, and some will be able to take more or less the full syllabus, and some will only be able to take a very, very limited amount. But the intention is that each pupil should receive as much as they are able to gain and benefit from.
Okay, thank you for that, Reverend Metcalfe.
Okay.
Councillor Kelly?
All I wanted to ask was, it says in the report 3 schools achieved the Gold Award for RE quality mark. I just wanted to know which schools are they, and I just wanted to commend them on their good work.
I'll have to ask for that detail. Incidentally, there is a bit of an issue here. In order to achieve the Gold Award, you have to go through a process which requires you to pay some money up front. And schools don't always feel that they can afford that amount of money. It's several £100s. But if they do, then they're given quite a rigorous kind of set of criteria, and you can get the award at various levels. But the Gold Award is a very signal achievement, so they'd be very grateful to have the County Council's support and congratulations, so thank you for that.
Okay, is everybody happy to receive this report? Yeah. Okay, on that note then, we would like to thank you for this very detailed report.
Thank you, Chair. And
obviously we just hope that the new chair coming in is as good as and as dedicated as you are.
Thank you.
Okay, could the Community Safety Strategy team please come forward? Okay, if everybody's ready, this is item 5, and it's the Community Strategy for Safety, and it's the report of the Cabinet Member for Community Safety and Resilience, and it's pages 53 to 102. So I will now pass this over to Tony Screen.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everybody. I'm Councillor Tony Screen, Cabinet Member for Community Safety and Resilience. I am very pleased and very proud to present the Staffordshire County Council Community Safety Strategy to the Safeguarding and Education Overview and Scrutiny Committee. This marks a significant moment for Staffordshire. For the first time, the County Council has its own organisational community safety strategy, supported by the introduction last year of a dedicated portfolio holder for community safety and resilience. Together, these changes reflect a much stronger, clearer and more determined focus on community safety across the Council. This strategy is not simply a new document, it represents a step change in ambition. Community safety is now firmly positioned as a core priority for the Council. It is central to our ability to build stronger, healthier and more resilient communities. The establishment of a specific portfolio for community safety signals the seriousness of our commitment. As portfolio holder, I bring a lifelong dedication to public service and high standards and a real desire to do what is right for the residents. My ambition is to deliver excellence and ensure the Council meets the expectations of the people we serve. This bold ambition runs through every part of the strategy, to make Staffordshire stronger and safer through decisive action, not bureaucracy. The strategy prioritises early intervention, empowering local communities and demanding excellence from ourselves and all partners. We recognise that community safety is fundamental to well-being, economic growth and public confidence. Without safe communities, everything else we strive for becomes harder to achieve. Our approach focuses on 4 interconnected priorities: protecting vulnerable people, safer and stronger places, prevention and effective partnerships. Catherine will talk through these in more detail in a moment. But community safety in Staffordshire is delivered through a strong and collaborative partnership approach. This strategy will provide clarity on Staffordshire County Council's role and accountabilities in delivering community safety priorities and how these contribute to partnership activities. It will reflect the Council's role in identifying and championing activity to respond to community need, which drive partnership approaches. This will include leadership and lobbying role, whether that is lobbying for better funding, stronger legislation or improved data sharing between agencies. Our role is not just in social delivery, it is influencing the wider system to get the best outcomes for Staffordshire. Above all, this strategy expresses a clear and unwavering commitment that the Council will aim to be outstanding in its approach to community safety, delivering what the public expects, maintaining high standards and demonstrating a genuine desire to serve our residents. It sets a clear direction for the work ahead and reinforces our ambitions to make Staffordshire a safer, stronger place for everyone. I will now hand over to Catherine, who will talk in more detail about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name's Catherine Mann. I'm the Assistant Director for Culture, Rural and Safer Communities, and with me today is Trish Caldwell, who's the County Commissioner for Regulatory Services, and also Becky Murphy, who is a Commissioner for Community Safety. So really big thanks to Councillor Screen for setting out the vision and the context for this important strategy, and I'm going to talk you through a bit more detail in terms of how we're going to make it work in practice. As Councillor Screen has explained, the strategy is built around 4 key priorities: protecting vulnerable people. We will take a zero-tolerance stance on grooming gangs, county lines and child exploitation, while ensuring accountability and enforcement for both children and adults at risk. This work will be delivered in close collaboration with the Staffordshire Safeguarding Children's Partnership and the Adult Safeguarding Partnership Board, ensuring a joined-up approach across agencies. We will also empower families and communities to take responsibility for safeguarding and endeavour to streamline services to make them more effective. This priority will also include our work to prevent radicalisation through education, intelligence and community vigilance. Safer and stronger places. We are determined to create safer and stronger communities by tackling crime and antisocial behaviour head-on. Through the Violence Reduction Alliance, we will focus on prevention, swift justice and visible enforcement. We will promote civic pride and shared values to strengthen community cohesion, deliver targeted interventions in high-risk areas such as the nighttime economy, improve road and fire safety, and design out crime through safer streets and public spaces, including implementing Martin's Law. Trading standards will also be refocused to deliver a high-impact, efficient service. In terms of prevention, our focus is on reducing harm before it happens. This includes domestic abuse prevention and victim support, safeguarding against child exploitation, modern slavery and human trafficking, also targeted interventions in high-risk areas. We will champion visible policing to deter crime and build trust, fulfil our counter-terrorism and prevent duties, tackle hate crime and promote community cohesion. At the same time, we will support families and encourage personal responsibility and invest in skills and enterprise to reduce dependency. For effective partnerships, we recognise that partnership working is critical to success. We are committed to ensuring justice is swift and visible by strengthening our own enforcement activity and providing high-quality evidence to support judicial outcomes while challenging delays through our lobbying role. We aim to streamline processes, cut duplication, and work in a joined-up way across agencies. We will continuously improve our evidence base by working with partners to develop stronger data sets and improve data sharing between agencies. This will not only drive smarter decision-making locally, but also strengthen our ability to influence nationally and secure the resources and legislative changes Staffordshire needs. In terms of implementation, to deliver these priorities, we will develop a detailed action plan setting out specific actions, responsibilities and timescales. Work to deliver the action plan will begin following Cabinet's consideration of the strategy and the subsequent approval of the final document by the Deputy Chief Executive and Director for Economy, Infrastructure and Skills in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Community Safety and Resilience. Our community safety strategy is intentionally overarching. It brings together a wide range of work and activity that collectively supports our shared ambition for safer communities. Many of these areas already have their own strategies, action plans, delivery frameworks and budgets in place, and they sit across a number of Cabinet Member portfolios. To ensure clarity and alignment, we will actively engage with colleagues across all relevant service areas, making sure that they understand how their activities contribute to delivering the community safety plan. This includes working together to coordinate existing action plans, address gaps and identify relevant budgets. Councillor Screen will continue to liaise with Cabinet colleagues to reinforce this alignment and collective ownership across portfolios. It is not the intention of this strategy to duplicate work or replace existing governance arrangements. Instead, our community safety strategy will align with, complement and reference those existing plans, such as safeguarding. This will ensure a joined-up approach, stronger coordination and avoid unnecessary duplication. In terms of performance management and accountability, strong performance management will sit at the heart of everything we will do. We will use clear, measurable outcomes and transparent reporting so that we can hold ourselves account. Where performance or delivery frameworks already exist, we will align with these to ensure consistency, reduce duplication and make the most of the systems already in place. Key performance indicators will help us to track and identify where action is needed, with regular reporting to the Cabinet Member for Community Safety and Resilience, also annually to this Scrutiny Committee so that you have got that assurance. In terms of next steps, the strategy will be presented to Cabinet on the 18th of February. Cabinet will be asked to grant delegated decision-making authority to the Deputy Chief Executive and Director for Economy, Infrastructure and Skills in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Community Safety and Resilience to then approve the final strategy on behalf of the County Council. Work will then commence to develop an action plan and performance framework which we aim to have in place by June 2026. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. If everybody don't mind, I would have two questions that I would like to ask first. The first one is obviously making everybody feel safe. Now, at the minute, I know the police tend to favour on child to actually take a more gentle approach. Now, in this report it says we're going to actually zero tolerance. Does that actually mean that we're going to have zero tolerance on child from now? And also accountability. Obviously, because we'll be working with lots of different partners, how are we going to keep them to account?
Okay, forgive me, I didn't quite get your first question, Chair, but because I was putting my headphones on, sorry. So, but keeping partners to account, that's what this is about, really. Yeah, we have regular meetings with our partners. Yeah, and they express to us and identify the issues that they've got within their areas. Yeah, and there's an action plan which we're building, which will make sure that they do whatever they can to put these areas right within their districts, their boroughs, yeah, and we'll hold each other to account to make sure that we develop bring this up to the high standard we can. And that's basic. So we're basically all looking after each other to make sure that what we do is right for the community and nobody can be left out of it. Nothing's hidden. It's all there for us all. So we all come together through the Safer, Stronger strategy group.
Thank you. And my first question was, obviously, in the report it says, okay, I'll start again. In the report it says that we're going to go for a zero tolerance. Now, generally, in this county, we've had a soft approach on child. Does that mean that from now on, when we adopt this system, it's going to be a zero tolerance on child?
No, I don't see a zero tolerance on child. Everything will be dealt with as it comes along, if you know what I mean. So there's no intention to be sort of a lot stronger on that area.
Okay, thank you for that. Right, now I'm going to open the floor to anybody. Okay, Councillor Egley.
Everybody's hands are going up, yeah. Thank you very much, and thank you for your report, and good morning. My question really is regarding our children in care and children leaving care. Now, from knowledge, County Lines has been in Stafford and Staffordshire for 30 years, to my knowledge, and it doesn't seem to be improving at all. And my worry is about our children that's leaving care, going out and probably got no family behind them to look after them. And some of these children are really mentally ill and what have you, so that they cannot work, they're on disablement allowance. And these people, County Lines people, these drug people, are coming in and picking on these young adults, young children, and using that money sometimes for their own good and taking the money off them. Now, what can we do to protect our children leaving care that's got nobody behind them to look after them? That's what I'm concerned about, and they don't then fall into the criminality and situation.
I'll come in, if I may, first of all, and then others may wish to also add to it. In terms of this overarching strategy, one of the things that we're mindful of is not to actually duplicate any work that's currently going on, but actually gives us another layer of, if you like, scrutiny. So in the children's services world, partnerships already exist around child exploitation, multi-agency, very much a focus on prevention. So there's a lot of work already happening to try and prevent that. And I take your point, you're talking specifically about children in care that are coming out of care, etc. How I anticipate that Councillor Screen wishes this strategy to work is to, as part of this strategy, to make sure that there aren't any gaps in the existing work that is currently taking place. So it's not to replace the work that our children's services do around child exploitation of all sorts, and County Lines fits very much into that, but to take, if you like, another view to make sure, have we got gaps around our children leaving care or our children in care, because then we can, with, in this case, I think it's Councillor Laking, yeah, who's the children's services, to work with him to say, do we need to do something more to strengthen this? So that's how we're envisaging that this strategy sits on top of, if you like, or alongside of existing governance arrangements, particularly the multi-agency ones, because County Lines involves a number of partners, police included, to make sure that's working correctly. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything.
Councillor Egley, do you have a follow-on question?
No, I'm just, concerned about these children, and as long as we're doing everything we can to protect them, then I'm quite happy. Thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for your report. I think I'm pleased that you've got this sort of high-level approach, an overarching strategy, and I'm reading a lot of words, and you know, overall it sounds very positive. But I wonder what it means to the average Staffordshire citizen. Things such as grassroots problems. You know, we've just heard in the previous item, I don't know if any of you are here to listen to it, that, you know, there are people who are frightened to represent themselves with their religion in this county. You know, you're talking about tackling hate crime and deterring crime and raising confidence in people. Are we saying that that will be addressed within this strategy? I mean, the other day we had highways bite-size training talking about parking enforcement, for instance. And at school times, the issues with people parking illegally or just inconsiderately, and the danger that we have to children that are running out of school between parked cars and crossing the road and potentially getting hit. And then talking about Martin's Law, all my local parishes want to know what that actually means to them. Can they put on a spring event this Easter? Can they put something on for Christmas? Or does Martin's Law preclude that? So I'm grateful for the report, but I want to understand how it's going to improve that connection between us as a county council and the people, the residents that we represent here. I'd also like to mention, by the way, Councillor Screen's comments on RHI, allowing our children who have left the county to not be scrutinised or not be interviewed by us upon the fact that we find them. I would like to associate myself with his comments, because I totally agree that this county has a responsibility and a duty to those children, and I don't feel that that's going to be covered now. So a few questions there. Thank you.
I'll start with the questions. So what you've had today is a really high level, as you said, Councillor Wilson, strategy. What's going to bring this alive, I think, to Staffordshire residents is when we've got that detailed delivery plan that will sit behind, and also then when we've got a communication strategy so that we can really make it clear then how those links are going to work, because I fully appreciate that a very high-level document is so overarching. It perhaps doesn't then resonate with people on the ground, but there will be distinct elements within that delivery plan where there are things around road safety, for example, where there are things around Martin's Law, and as part of that I see that there will be some communications campaigns around sort of specific elements of it, so that we're raising awareness of what it is that we want to achieve. So this is the first time that we've had an organisational strategy for community safety, so it's an evolving process, I would like to say. So I don't know if others have got anything to add.
I guess just on, you mentioned Martin's Law particularly, and I think can perhaps give a demonstration of how I think this strategy helps that, because exactly the question you asked, when the delivery plan, action plan is being put together, those sort of questions will be asked, and I'm aware that you know, we have a officer lead in the council for Martin's Law, because they represent us at the protect and prepare, but prepare and protect, I'm just wondering if I've got the is it prepare and protect or protect and prepare? But there's a piece of work that's being done multi-agency, and there's a Staffordshire and Stoke board that are making sure that each local authority is represented, and that work is ongoing to make sure that as that law comes in, communication that is needed from the county council is taking place. So as I see, this strategy helps with that, because as we're developing the delivery plan with these particular areas, so Martin's Law, there'll be a look-see in terms of the delivery plan, and then for the other areas the same principle will apply. But I thought it was worth just sharing that example of Martin's Law, because I've been involved in that personally.
Yeah, Councillor Mills, do you have a follow-on question?
Just very briefly, thank you for those honest answers. I look forward to seeing you this time next year, and hopefully all of the questions I've put to you today will no longer need a response. So thank you.
Councillor Kelly?
Thank you. Thank you for this report as well. So although there is a lot within this strategy, I did notice something that I would have liked to see highlighted within it, and that's the prevention of sexual assault and harassment of women and girls. I am sure that it is most probably come under one of the parts within it, within the strategy. However, I would also like to highlight that it's not just the prevention of these crimes that matters. It is the care afterwards. It's for the survivors and ensuring their safety and giving them as much support as possible afterwards. Within my very safe and quiet area of Leek Rural, according to the crime stats, there are 11 reports of violent and sexual offences. Within the town of Leek, there were 62 reports. And as we know, only 10 to 15% of sexual assaults are actually recorded, are actually reported. I can't get my words out. I'm sorry. So I would like to make sure that this is highlighted within the report and that is being taken seriously. And if it is coming under the headings, which ones are they? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Domestic abuse, and for people that experience domestic abuse, is really important, and it's something that we are very mindful of. We've got a brand new domestic abuse strategy which was agreed by Cabinet yesterday. It came through this committee, so it is a key strand of the community safety strategy so that we can support victims but also support perpetrators in terms of behaviour change as part of the contracted arrangements that we've got with providers across Staffordshire, and how we signpost people to the support that is available. So,
Do you have a follow-on question?
Yes, I do. So I wasn't necessarily saying in domestic abuse situations. It could be a stranger in a club, it could be in the night time, it could be anywhere, not just when it's a husband and wife crime or a partner or in a domestic situation. I'm talking as a whole.
If I might just come in on that one. So Catherine's given the example of the domestic abuse. We also are party to support services that support victims of sexual abuse and sexual crimes. I think the same principle applies in terms of that will be a strand of work that sits. We know there's work already there, and in the same way we need to make sure everything's in the domestic abuse delivery plan, that sexual abuse is also being addressed through that sexual abuse plan. And then in terms of, I think you mentioned that care afterwards, one of the things that we're keen to do is to make sure that what is commissioned has all the appropriate elements. So if counselling, and I'm sorry, I'm flipping back to domestic abuse here now because it's a topic, but if counselling is coming through as we need to do more of that as an example, then as commissioning arrangements change going forward, you know, that is built in as a need. So there is some thoughts to the future in terms of that.
Okay, Councillor Kelly, I believe you have one more question.
Yes, all it is with your action plan, is it coming in different parts, so domestic abuse and then a separate one and then a separate one, or are you combining them when they come to this Scrutiny committee? That's it.
Yes, so in terms of the action plan, as we've mentioned, there are existing streams of work for most of these areas that have got their own strategies and their own action plans. So we're not intending to duplicate that, so we won't reflect all of those actions again. We've got a domestic abuse action plan, for example, that's in trail at the moment. We won't be lifting and shifting that in its entirety into this plan because that would just be duplication, but we will be identifying those cross-cutting elements that need to be reflected in this. The same is with each community safety partnership across the county has localised action plans that refer to their local areas in the way that Councillor Wilson was talking about, those grassroots, very local issues. Again, we're not intending to duplicate that in the overarching action plan, but we will be looking to identify, are there any gaps that need addressing that we perhaps need to reflect, but also how we'll get the assurance that they are being delivered and that collectively they are contributing to achieving our community safety objectives. In terms of then this committee, you may wish to look at those along thematic lines. So it may be that you say, we'll have a session on domestic abuse or child exploitation or county lines, rather than trying to do the whole of the action plan in one go.
Councillor Doherty.
Thank you very much, Chair. I've been sat listening to everybody's questions, and it does actually bring my question round nicely, which is about police visibility. And the report, the strategy, there's a lot of information, and there's other strategies within the strategy. And I happened to have a look at the police and crime plan for 24-28, which shows clear demand for visible neighbourhood policing. Yet recent PSO shift changes and reduction of PCSOs in some areas now removes all evening presence after 9 p.m. How does this reduction in PCSO visibility during peak community safety hours align with the plan, the strategy going forward?
Thank you for your question. I can't answer for the PCC or the police, but I do know a little bit about the PCSO's plight, which is a financial one, which people have got to save money, and that's what they're looking at doing. And they are moving the shift patterns of the PCSOs, but it doesn't mean that there won't be any visibility. That's an assurance I think that I can certainly press with the Crime Commissioner, because other officers will move in to fill those gaps, if you see what I mean. That's what's happening, either from neighbourhood or response, yeah. And I think more police officers are being allocated to cover that particular time that you believe there may be a shortage, a visible shortage. And I'll be quite frank, I'm not like yourselves happy with the visibility of the police, but there is some, it is what it is, and it's for them to deal with. But be assured that we will be scrutinising and holding them to account. That's what it's about, holding everybody to account and being transparent. And if you're getting paid the big bucks, you've got to be prepared to answer the questions, I suppose, haven't you? And face up to it. So, but I do understand what you're saying. But it's a bit more different than just that. It's about saving money as well. But I think that gap that you're mentioning has been looked at and is being filled by other officers moving from their area to another and such like, just to cover that. Okay.
Catherine, I believe you wanted to add something?
Just to add to what Councillor Screen has said, an aspect of the community safety strategy is about how we lobby. So how we lobby for resource, how we lobby the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner. So there will be a lobbying and communications plan as part of the community safety strategy. We'll be working really closely with colleagues in our comms department, and also I can't think of a job title, but there's another colleague that we will be working closely with. So we've got that lobbying right, so that we use the existing lobbying channels that we've got, so that we can seek to influence changes across Staffordshire.
Yeah, Councillor Dockley.
Just to add on to that, where you're talking about resources and lobbying, they've had a £256 million policing budget. Where does all that money go if not into policing services?
Believe that might be a question for the Commissioner. I believe that might be a question for the Commissioner. Okay. Matthew?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you for the report anyway, and so forth. And yeah, it's quite well detailed in that regard. Following on from what Councillor Edgeler mentioned, what is the success rate of early intervention when it comes to vulnerable children and adults in grooming gangs and county line drug gangs and so forth?
That's something we will need to check with Children's Services and come back to you with a more detailed response. That's not something that we've got that level of detail within this strategy at the moment, but thank you.
Thank you. And I just got 2 more other questions, and I think that the next one's probably going to be just the same as the last response. But out of how many outstanding cases, what is the average timeline from when they get the report to get it resolved or leading to a prosecution and so forth? What is the general backlog?
And that's the same response, I'm afraid. We will need to check with our colleagues in Children's Services. We don't have that information with us here today.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you for that. But yeah, that's everything. Thank you.
What I can do for you, Matthew, is I know at the present time, if it goes in front of a judge, it is taking up to 18 months to get people in front of a judge. Mr. Bell?
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. Thank you for the report. There's no doubt that all the priority areas are highly laudable. To achieve them in 3 years is extremely challenging with the resource limitations that we have. So what I'd really like to know is, when you are here this time next year, I understand you've got to develop the detailed action plan, but what can this committee be realistically expecting to be able to scrutinise you on? So what, for example, 3 key areas would you say that you would be looking to address over the next 12 months?
Thank you. To be fair, all of it. The idea for this is to bring our standards right up, yeah, and improve our standards, yeah, and maintain that transparency and accountability. And for me, that's what this is about. And it's an ongoing thing, yeah. So all of it really. There's not just 3 areas. All the areas for me, I'd like us to stay focused on and deal with, and that's collectively all the councillors. County Council, all our partners, we're all in this together, basically. So, yeah, scrutinise away. From those people who've been involved in something, you can then scrutinise them. But there's probably people here that have not been involved in creating this strategy or doing anything else in different areas. You know, so that's why, for me, it's for all of us to be held accountable, and for all of us to sort of look why we're here and make sure we do what we can for the residents that we serve. Does that answer your question? Is that...
And I do appreciate that answer, but again, you know, it's been mentioned already that these problems have been around for hundreds of years, in reality, thousands in reality. And I am just trying to understand, of all of the points, which ones in Staffordshire are particularly of concern, so that we can, as a committee, you know, be aware of that, because you must have an awareness from data.
Yeah, I was just going to respond to that. So in terms of our understanding of the needs in Staffordshire and the prevalence of specific issues and concerns, we're informed by our community safety strategic assessments, which pull together a whole range of intelligence information data from a number of different sources. Those are refreshed on an annual basis, and then every 3 years they're thoroughly reviewed. That's actually just coming to the end of its 3-year review at the moment. So within the next few weeks, probably within the next month, we will have the refreshed and up-to-date community safety strategic assessment for Staffordshire and for each of the district and borough areas as well. So I'd suggest potentially that document could come back to this scrutiny committee, so then you can see clearly for the county as a whole, but also for your individual areas, what are the particular points of interest, and then that might inform your work plan, sort of what questions you'll be asking in 12 months' time. But I think that's the document that probably give you perhaps some of the insight that you're looking for about those local issues, and also from a county-wide perspective, what the issues are that we'll be working collaboratively on.
Just one moment, Catherine. I just want to go to Councillor Wilson first.
It's okay. I'm just wondering, thinking about it, if it's a 3-year strategy and next year we'll have LGR, how does it trip over to the next authority? And are we starting something we won't be able to complete anyway?
Yeah, I see your point, and we're dealing with what we've got now, but we are mindful of that, and we are working on something at this moment in time, yeah, to make sure we have that transition. Yeah.
Okay, Catherine?
It was just following up on Becky's point. I think the other thing that would be useful to bring back to this committee as well is the delivery plan when we've developed that, so that you've got that opportunity then to scrutinise the delivery plan, to see then what those priorities are within the delivery plan, and that will also then give you that sense of what it is we're working towards, but also then holding us to account in terms of how we're delivering against it.
Councillor Egley?
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, just it's a question for the Commissioner, actually. There's a big talk now, and all right, the government is really concerned about protection of women and girls and looking after themselves. And I know there's a lady out in our community now that's doing this sort of work by running classes, and I know particularly, you know, in my area and probably in other areas as well. And she's eager, actually, to start doing this in secondary schools with the girls that's just about to go into the big wide world and what have you, to train them how to protect themselves in this situations where they might be, you know, attacked or whatever. And I'm just wondering if it's something that we could probably roll out in schools from the county point of view. And I'll leave that with you. If you could think about it, that would be great, and I could give you the details.
Okay, was that a question or was that just a... question, really. Could the officer please answer it, please?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Edgeler. I think we through the Safer and Stronger partnership that we have, the county-wide statutory board, we have links into our education safeguarding team and children's services, and I think it's something we can perhaps discuss with them in terms of how they, you know, how they feed into school curriculum, and see if it's something either that's there already or in pockets, or whether it's something that they could develop, but we can commit to have that conversation with that specific team.
Chairman, can I just ask them, will you come back to me and let me know what sort of answer you get back from that? I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, I do have another question. This is leading on from something that Councillor Wilson asked before. We use Trinity at the moment for the interviews. Could we actually get a copy of the sheet that Trinity use when we're actually interviewing the children, please?
I think that's probably something for Bernie Brown and Nick Lakey to ask, really, if we can do that.
Okay, thank you for that. Does anybody else have... Okay, Councillor Kelly.
This was a carry-on question for Councillor Wallins. With such long court dates where people are waiting 18 months, oftentimes they are sharing a community with the person who assaulted them, who hurt them. How, within this strategy, could we also ensure that, yes, they are considered innocent until proven guilty, but we are also ensuring the safety of those victims too? And that really should be highlighted when it is over a year, maybe 2 years, where they are in those vulnerable situations.
Yeah, we'll certainly look at that, and we do want to look at that. It's a very serious point, and something which we are very mindful of. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Kelly, do you have a follow-on question? Okay, I have another question for you then. Going forward, this is going from Councillor Bell. In, say, 6 months' time, when this is actually implemented, and we're starting to get data coming in, how are we going to scrutinise that data within the council under the Data Protection Act?
I think if I've understood the question, so correct me if I'm wrong, where we're working with partners, we do make sure we have information sharing agreements in place. There are information sharing agreements in place already with a number of partners, but from an information governance perspective, they like to ensure that we have it in place for the specific area that we're working with. So sometimes the general information sharing agreement needs to have a further information sharing agreement put in place, but the structures that exist within the county council ensure that that process happens, so that we're only having data that we're entitled to have. So those discussions take place as and when.
Okay, thank you for that. And one last question from me. Generally, we have some communities that are in nature closed. They choose to be closed. How are we going to actually implement this into them communities and get them to trust the policy?
I appreciate that that is going to be quite challenging. What we have got is we've got a dedicated comms lead that is working really closely with Councillor Screen, so that we can then develop strategies and develop an approach so that we can reach into relevant communities and also tailor that message so that it lands well with people. It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all. It might have to be tailored to a specific community. It might be something that has to be in a different language so that we make it accessible, but we're working with our comms team to enable that so that we do it appropriately, but also reach out and we don't have then gaps across our communities where we've not been able to communicate what it is that we're trying to achieve.
Councillor Wilson?
Can I just answer my thoughts on that question? Because that's something we've been dealing with for a long time at the County Council, and I think we've done some good work there already with local groups. You know, we have ESOL lessons, for instance, for people who have come into the country and don't speak the language, and libraries play a very valuable part in, I think, reaching out to those communities where at the moment there have been gaps. But I do feel that it's incumbent on us as councillors actually to determine where those gaps are and to do the work. So we can all do that within our own communities as well, and I think that's really important as community leaders. That's what we should be doing as county councillors, as well as the district council cohort as well. Sorry, I hope that helps.
No, that's okay. Does anybody else have any more questions? Well, on that note then, I would like to thank Councillor Screen and the officers for coming today within this very detailed report. Thank you.
Can I just, if you don't mind, thank everybody for this and thank the officers for their help that they've done this absolutely amazing. We've had an instance, I just want to mention it, a large knife was found outside in the plant pot by the doors, a large carving knife. I just want to say, if you can be a bit more aware of your surroundings when you leave the building. It has been looked into at this moment, but this is an extremely large knife secreted within the plant pot right by the entrance to the door. Maybe something or maybe nothing, but it's just a matter of, in view of the things which are going on recently. Yes, here. So I just want to make sure that you all are aware that when you do leave the building, be aware of your surroundings and where you go, that you get to your cars and probably go in pairs if you can. I'm not saying there's anybody's targeted, I'm just saying a large knife was found, and we have had a number of incidents, you know, certainly this last few weeks. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And again, I'd just like to say thank you for today. Thank you to the officers, because this strategic report is very detailed, and I look forward to, in the time, actually seeing how it works. Okay, moving on to item 6, which is the work programme. Does anybody have any suggestions of anything they would like to add to the work? How did I know you were going to say something, Kelly?
So the law has just passed where PAVA can be used within prisons. I do know, Councillor Doherty forwarded on, the safeguarding leave for Warrington Prison has offered to come. I would like that to be added to, and we can see that they are using it responsibly and safely, and to see what's going on there. I wondered if that could be added to the work plan, because he has offered to come.
Would the committee be happy with that, adding that to the work plan? Okay. Could we add that to the work plan, please, Helen? Yeah, Helen, if you'd like to go through.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so just a couple of things to keep members updated on the work of the committee. The elective home, or your elective home education working group, has a meeting on the 29th. That's with school representatives to look at their work around EHE. And we've got a preparation meeting beforehand that week, haven't we, via Teams. We are looking to meet with parents. That date has been put back because of the parents' availability, but we're hoping that that'll be in February. You will already have received, or those who indicated that they were keen to attend the Burton Alternative Education Provision, or PRU. I'm never quite sure which term we're supposed to use now, but anyway, on the 2nd of February. Now, there are two possible sites, one where the children will be, which will be, I think, the more interesting site, but has limited parking, and you know, they would like the numbers limited, and then one which in which you will be able to meet some of the staff and understand the work they do, but there will be less going on with the children. So that's a long-winded way of me saying, if you could let me know if you can definitely make the second, please, so I know what the numbers are, and then I can reference with them and see if we need to try and organise a split visit. But if you come back and confirm either way, and then I'll be able to go back to them and we'll know more detail on how we get the logistics of how we're going to do that. You had the Family Hub briefing on Monday, which I hope you found useful. For those who weren't able to attend, we did record it, so we can forward that on if people would like that. Okay. We agreed that we'd do a work programme planning session, but obviously discussed with the new chair, and there are one or two things that just everybody needs to get their head round before we do that. So we're going to look to put that back towards the end of February. So it's still being done. We'll still try and get a skeleton new work programme out for you, but we're just giving a little bit more time, thinking time before we do that. And then your next two meetings, February is a chocker full agenda, and it's meeting in the afternoon, so that's just setting the scene so you can prepare yourselves. And then March, we've put an extra meeting in March, haven't we? And that is predominantly to look at the outcome of the Ofsted revisit. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Helen. Does anybody else have anything they would like to actually add? Okay, Councillor Martin.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick one to add. With the working group, what's the date again for is it the parents or the kids that's coming to talk?
So on the 29th of January, we were going to have the parents, weren't we? But we're now having, we're going to still use that date, but we're going to use it for to speak to representatives from school about EHE and how they work with pupils before and, you know, off-rolling and all the rest of it. As predicted, Christmas was not our friend in being able to make sure that we'd got that date bottomed up for EHE parent representatives, and so we weren't able to they're not able to make the 29th, essentially. So we're using that for the schools. We're looking at a new date for them. At the moment, we did suggest the 18th. I think that might be changing to the 19th, which I know is half term, but I assumed that half term wouldn't matter in this instance. But it might do. So I'm waiting. So that's to be agreed, but I'm anticipating it'll be the 19th of February at the moment. Is that okay?
Yeah. Would anybody have any problems if it went to the 19th?
Which is exactly my cunning plan, because we did have safeguarding on the 19th. But if you remember, we moved safeguarding to the 26th in the afternoon, so because it was half term. So so the February safeguarding and education scrutiny meeting is now in the afternoon of the 26th. You should already have that. The 19th was the date when we did have it originally, and which is why I thought we may very well manage to get an EHE meeting in for the working group then. But I've got to confirm that parents can attend that.
Okay. Has anybody got anything else to say on the working programme? Okay, then we'll move on to Agenda 7, which is, and we actually have no items at the moment, so if everybody is happy, we will bring this meeting to a close.
Thank you.
Thank you.